Welcome to another episode of The Financially Free Investor, where you will learn information and strategies on how to become financially independent by investing in real estate, something that is not taught openly in our society today. Financial freedom matters so you can live a bigger life, retire early, and do what matters most to you. Get ready to hear tried and true methods to becoming financially free with your host, Jordy Clark.
We have a reoccurring guest coming back in today. I'm super excited though, because today we're going to jump into Jared Addis, your background story, and just hear about who you are. We've heard you on the Real Estate Rapid Fire a couple of times. We're going to hear you a bunch more times. You know, I personally kind of know a little bit of your story and your iterations and what you've done, but I'm excited for the rest of the people to hear it. So welcome in, buddy.
Thanks, brother. Always good to be with you. I was kind of hoping I could just, be the weird guy that pops in and talks real estate every now and then, but nobody knows anything about me. It's kind of my style, but let's do it. Let's talk about Jay for a day.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, in a year, this episode will be buried and people will have to go search for it if they really want to know who you are, but they probably know who you are anyway. So yeah. Well, dude, let's get started. How'd you get started on your journey to financial freedom?
Well, that's a good question. It all started when I was 12 years old. And I remember this because I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I didn't grow up poor, woe is me or anything, but we didn't have a lot of money. My dad was on the envelope system. He was the original Dave Ramsey, I think. And so I got a book from my buddy's dad, and my buddy lived on the lake at a cool house on the lake. Obviously we didn't live on the lake. So they had a cool boat and a camper, and I was just kind of observing their life versus our life and thinking, I wonder what his dad did. And I asked him one day, 12-year-old curious Jay, and he gave me a book, and it was a book on investing that was probably way over my head. It was the Motley Fool book. And so I read it, and that's kind of my Warren Buffett story. I wasn't a huge reader up to that point. I read a little bit, maybe normal, I guess, but I was hooked. The concepts in the book, even though they were over my head about investing and making your money grow and financial freedom, it just, for the first time in a 12-year-old's life, it kind of made sense. And honestly, I'll say I began my journey back then just learning a lot and trying to overcome some obstacles about where I came from and, what I needed to do with myself and my identity and my knowledge and my network to become the guy that, could live on the lake with the boat and the RV one day.
All right. That's interesting. I never heard that before.
You're welcome. That's why we do these interviews.
Okay. So, 12 years old, obviously you can't do much. You can't, you're in school, you're
counting
you're
pennies.
12. Yeah. Did you start selling lemonade at the corner or?
Yeah, man, I have a couple of those. I started my hard money lending business around 14 with my sister. She was not quite as good with money as me. So I always had, I was cutting grasses and washing cars, and I never spent anything. I had that from my dad. I was like, save everything. Don't ever let go of $1. It's taken me about 40 years to get over that one. We could talk about that later. But I was really good at saving early on. And so friends and my sister in particular would, they'd want to buy something cool. And I was always finding myself lending money and kind of creating terms like, how long do you think it'll take to pay this back? how much interest do you think is fair? I was a total cheese ball. I was not a hard money, like I think I was very commonly known for 0% interest. I guess that was the original government or something. But I got a couple of at-bats doing that, sold bracelets, and I actually got in trouble in middle school for selling bracelets that I would make at night. Shut down my candy bar business. So a couple of those stories, but I'd say that I opened my first stock market account when I was 17. Had to get my parents to help me, and started throwing money in a stock account before I joined the military. And I still kind of thought that was where it was at. I thought I really liked real estate as I was learning about investing, and I got some exposure to it. Like I remember one story. I'm driving with my dad. It's probably maybe 13. I'm like, I've read the book, starting to ask questions, starting to look at the big houses, within 30 minutes of where we live. And I'm asking my dad, I'm like, hey, what's he do? What's that guy do? And the thing that keeps popping up is, well, that guy owns XYZ. That guy owns a bunch of land in town. Oh, that guy owns a dealership in town, a car dealership. Oh, that guy, you remember those apartments down the street? That guy owns all those apartments. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm not that genius, but I'm putting two and two together here. None of these guys with the really nice houses and the cool cars in the driveway, none of them work at the plant down the street. They all own something. So I made a connection kind of early on that I need to own things. And like I said, it's been a real journey of both trading time for money, which I still do in some regards, and owning things, which I love. And I think that's to your podcast's point, that's really where it's at. That's what gets me, really, really excited.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's really interesting. Maybe fast forward a little bit and tell us what you did, because you were in the military for a few years, what you did after you got out of the military. I mean, you can talk a little bit about any lessons you learned in the military too, because you did something that was very admirable and pretty cool.
Learn to stand at attention while sand fleas bit the crap out of you. No. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I like to tell people, and whether you join the military or, dedicate yourself to any kind of service or go to college, whatever, man, if you look back, I'm almost 40, I'll be 40 in a couple of days. There's really there's like a handful of key decisions that you make, like a handful. And I'm really fascinated with studying that handful of decisions and what went well. Did you go against the grain? Did you go with what everybody was saying you should do? Why did you make that decision? So one of the key decisions in my life absolutely was to go against the grain and go into the military. And I learned a lot. I grew. I became a leader and worked on things that still stay with me today and pretty much everything I do, including family life. So I'm super grateful for that opportunity and what I did and who I served with and serving the country. But another thing that I did while I was in the military is get pulled back like a rubber band, really, and studied, like crazy, real estate. And so I knew that when I got out of the military and I saved up like, I don't know, $7,000 or whatever, you don't get paid a lot in the military. It's more about the glory, they tell you. I was gonna go to college, but I was gonna start poking around and trying to buy real estate, and that's where I'd say I started along my journey.
Okay. So tell us about that first deal in college, because I assume you bought it. while you were in college?
Yeah. I did two things. I borrowed money, and a lot of people are scared of leverage, but I was reading all these books and I'm like, man, these guys and gals, they all have one thing in common. They finance stuff and they finance assets and they make a margin, right? So I really started diving into this. Well, how does that work? So I actually, because of the military and somehow my academics, college was paid for me, which is cool. Went to pretty good school. Tuition wasn't cheap, so grateful for that. But what did I do with that money? Go out and party in Miami? No, I saved it so that I could continue to buy stocks. I'm still in the stock thing at this point, and buy my first real estate deal, which you don't really hear as much anymore. I guess I'm getting old, but my first real estate deal was absolutely the typical real estate deal. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse. And this is in 2009. Timing was good, except nobody, key decision too, by the way, taking action on that first deal. Nobody wanted to give me the time of day. The real estate agent didn't want to give me the time of day. The title company didn't want to give me the time of day. The insurance company didn't want to give me the time of day. And any lender on planet Earth didn't want to give me the time of day. So it took a while to convince, my team during a, real estate downturn that to take a chance on this 22-year-old guy that was going to be a real estate dude one day.
Why do you think you had to convince them to work with you?
Two things. Number one, good time. We were close enough to the good time still, where this townhouse was $60,000. Wow. And I was using, I know, give me some of those today. I was using a loan product where you didn't have to I was trying to use a loan product where you didn't have to put 20% down. And those were kind of drying up because the economy was shifting. So the lenders and the brokers and the agents were still super kind of high on their horse from just having the last, 6 years where things are getting bid up. Kind of feels like now, right? Like nobody wants to talk to you.
The last 6 years.
Yeah. Very, very familiar in that regard. And again, I was I literally had the loan guy that said, this isn't worth my time. Like the amount of money I'm going to get from this baby loan, it's not even worth my time. And I said, okay, brother, here's the deal. This is my first house. I'm going to be buying these for the rest of my life. You can sell me this house and finance it. And then we can start talking immediately about the next one. Or I walk out of here and you miss out on this little baby loan where you don't make anything, but you also miss out on the next 30 years of me buying property. What you want to do? And he said, I don't believe you. And, but I didn't stop there. So I called him in like 10 days. I was still trying to make this thing work. And I was like, hey, I'm not going away. I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm going to find somebody else. I'm going to make this happen. You want to go through with it. I'm not going to be a pain in the neck. I'm going to get to the finish line. All right. I know you're only going to make whatever, $600, but I'll make it the easiest $600 you ever made. And he was like, all right, fine. And so we got her done. And I sold that $60,000 townhouse like 5 years later for $300,000, man.
Oh, what market was that in?
Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah, Vegas, baby.
Nice.
Vegas was good to us because I don't gamble. I buy real estate.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, how much did you buy while you were in Vegas?
Yeah, we bought just under 20. We had like 19 houses. We were there for 6 years total, bought everything ourselves. I got the loans all myself. And as you're like, well, how do you buy 19? You can only buy 10 before the banks cut you off with Fannie Freddie. But so I had my wife sign for some. We kind of split roles there, and then we started rolling into commercial loans there towards the end to just get them done. But another key takeaway I like to share with everybody, and we don't have to go, we don't have to go there, but I love to tell this to people, because one of the best ways to learn is just listen to somebody and go faster than they did. And so while 19 houses in 6 years was awesome, we did it completely ourselves. We could have went a lot faster, a lot bigger. And we could have had 1,900 homes probably, if I understood finance, but I didn't understand leverage and people leverage and real money leverage at that point. So I do like to say Vegas was good to us. We learned a lot. I made money on I doubled my money at least on every one of those properties, because that market was good. I'd love to say I'm a genius, but I just bought as many properties as I could during a dip and during a decline. And when they started going up, I had the pleasure of reevaluating. Well, I'm making $250 a month on this single family house. That's pretty cool. Maybe I get it to 300, or I can sell it and make 175,000. How many months does it take to make 175,000 divided by 250, for freaking ever? So no, I didn't have a mentor, didn't have a coach, didn't have a clue. But I said, all right, obviously the math here means I need to go somewhere else, or I need to sell this. Then I'm going to have a little bucket of money. Then what am I going to do? New problem, new challenge, new opportunity.
I think there's a lot to unpack, or maybe I'll just highlight a couple of things there that, other people, as they build their portfolios, they can take note, right? Because I think it's important to reevaluate every single year your rental properties, and, probably stocks for that reason too. Like, just everything you own, just make sure, like, hey, is this still serving me the way I want it to serve me, right? And I've done that a couple of times where, we'll look at a property and we have a ton of equity, and the cash flow, it's just super low. Well, you buy in the right market at the right time, and equity makes you way more money than cash flow does. Right. So for you to reevaluate and go, hey, let's turn this $250 a month into one lump sum of 170. Yeah, you sacrifice some future cash flow, but what you're able to do redeploying that 170 can, expedite the growth and get you into different rooms. And, I know you're big on that, just education. And, I know you've done a lot of the real estate guys stuff, and Jake and Gino apartment stuff, and, GoBundant stuff. That's, where you and I met. And it's arguably way more important to invest in yourself than buy another deal. Maybe let's fast forward. What you guys left Vegas, and maybe tell us about the next chapter of your lives.
Well, our money left Vegas first before we did. And what I mean by that is, the Vegas houses were appreciating. I was looking at a 2x return on all these properties equity wise, like I said. And so I started scanning really before data was around a lot. It was still there, but not like it is today. Holy smokes, you can get your hands on some really good, cool data today, any way you want to look at it. But I started looking around, and I said, okay, market's going up. It's gone up like berserko fast. Vegas especially, some of the hardest hit markets, if people remember, Vegas, Phoenix, San Diego, they went up. When they went up, it was like, they went like a rocket ship. So huge decline, huge up. And I said, all right, where can I go now where maybe I won't have that huge dip and that huge upside, but I've got more money now where I could just buy cash flow good. Where would I go just buy really good cash flow? And like all cowboys, signs pointed to Texas. People were talking about Texas already for sure, but not like they are today. And I noticed, demographics, markets, had 4 major cities, all of them checked a bunch of boxes. And I was still working at the time. I had a W-2 that I liked a lot, was making good money. I was just pouring everything back into real estate, and I wanted to keep doing that. So I ended up going through a phase of buying new, like brand new, single family, 1 to 4 units, fourplexes, duplexes, single family houses, brick, really nice. I deployed all of our earnings back into better, stronger cash flow there in Texas, over the course of probably, 2 years as I was shutting down the Vegas properties. And then we did eventually, we were going so much, I figured we should move there, and everybody was talking about Austin. And so we decided, hey, let's move to Texas for a little while. And that began our Texas chapter, both living and with real estate. I'll call that the cash flow phase.
The cash flow phase. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you moved to Austin.
Yeah.
How long were you guys in Austin again?
Almost 5 years. Did a little on and off with our Park City, where we are now. But first 2 or 3 years, it was solid there in Austin, and then we started dabbling in Utah.
Cool. And you bought assisted living in Texas, right? And ran that?
We did. Yeah. So continued to buy cash flowing assets in Texas. It's kind of all in on Texas. Property taxes started getting kind of just berserko in Texas. Appraisals were going up. It felt like every quarter. It was like, what are they saying this thing? And so they're, squeezing some of the cash flow, which is why we went to Texas. And so again, got to crawl over to the bow and take a look, get the binoculars out and see what else is out there. So interesting story here. I went to learn about, because that's what I do. I got to learn about something. I went to learn about 2 things: buying apartments. This is like 2013. Buying apartments, and then I went to learn about buying assisted living and operating. And my only regret is not doing both, honestly. We're, fast forward now, we're all over apartments, right? You and I, and the Silicon Slopes thing. And I wish I would have done both, looking back, and found a way, but I was still very singular, this is our money. I'm going to put 20% down on whatever I buy, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, we were looking at the cash flow of an assisted living property, and it was, it's very strong, especially with good occupancy. And we got into, my wife and I decided to get into that, holding that business for a while. And the only thing that kind of hit us that we weren't expecting ended up being okay. You got to roll with things, is I wanted to own the real estate, right? I was looking at this like, oh, the cash flow is really good. Real estate's in a good area. You've got this operator that's whatever, could be leasing from you. Most of them that we were looking at, though, you had to buy both. You had to buy the business and the real estate. So we went ahead and did that. And it's a very assisted living, very operationally intensive business. And so we spent a lot of time, because it's a very important business too, right? You're taking care of people. And so we spent a lot of time getting the operation right there too. But that was a relatively short chapter. Did well for us financially. We ended up buying a few assisted livings and kind of repackaging them, almost like you would do in other real estate, like a value add. We built the team, we built the process, we integrated some technology, and made the properties look better, and then ended up selling to a bigger buyer, which is always good. So that was our assisted living phase there in Texas.
Cool. Well, you obviously landed in Park City after that. Why'd you guys choose to move from Austin, which never snows, to Park City, which snows 11 months out of the year?
The mountains are calling me, man. Yeah. Austin was really cool, super fun chapter. We were kind of dual income, no kids, dinks, as they call them, and living in downtown Austin, super fun. Met some amazing people we're still friends with today. Great chapter all around, but not really. We're big outdoors people. And the thing about probably your podcast and what I'm trying to help people do now is just architect your life a little bit. And as we were trying to architect our life, we wanted to be in Park City. We love it. And so it was, how do we make that happen? How do we make that make sense? What would that look like? How long would it take? What would we need to do? Fun exercise, and which led to a couple of years later, here we are, and no regrets, man. As you know, I take full advantage of being, proximity is power. I take full advantage of being close to the mountains, both summer and winter. And we absolutely love it here.
Yeah, that's great. So you're here, you're in Park City.
Here I am.
One of the most expensive markets in Utah. And you're buying real estate.
Yeah. Personal and professional, I guess, right?
There you go. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what are you looking for now? And then maybe, you can jump into Silicon Slopes Capital Partners and what we're up to there.
Yeah, well, it's a good segue, because I think another one of the key moments for me, key decisions, was when we sold the assisted living business. It was just my wife and I, and full disclosure, that was either, wow, we really love working together really, really well, or a moment where we were like, we really love each other and we're really supportive of each other, but we don't love working together. My wife's kind of a boss, and I'm definitely a boss, and there can only be one boss, so
I know this story all too well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So there's definitely things that we work on. We have kids now, and man, what a great journey that's been, and super fun, and way different than trying to be two CEOs or whatever. But one of the things I took away from that was, okay, probably don't want to go into in-depth business with my wife again. That's okay. A lot of stuff I like to do with her. But I do know that I want to do something bigger, and then a partnership. At this point, I had bought and sold stuff for over 10 years, probably 12 years at this point. I'd learned a lot, but I was on an island completely, every which way you skin it, totally by myself. And I'm a people guy. I like doing stuff with people and having fun and, making money, going on an adventure, whatever. I like doing it with the group. So I said, all right, next thing I do, kind of two things. Number one, I'm going to do it with a partner. And number two, I had at this point, what we call in GoBundance 100%er. Like I had achieved cash flow exceeding my expenses. I felt that, right? Like I knew what that felt like. That was a cool moment. We had more cash flow coming in than we needed to live. That was pretty cool. And so I thought, okay, but now what? And what I noticed is I've got all these buddies around me, people that I work with, people that are in my circle, super smart, love them to death, probably smarter than me. But man, they don't know jack about real estate. And they're kind of nervous about, they're like, I want to be in real estate. So I ask them, I talk to them. I'm like, you want to be in real, or a lot of people, I want to do real estate. That's what they say. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What do you want to do about real estate? Wow, I want that mailbox money. Oh, okay. What else? Because that's sort of like an outcome. That's not doing real estate. And after talking to people, most people, shockwave here, don't want to do real estate. They don't want to call a property manager every week and say, hey, how's my property running? I want to see a picture. I want to see our occupancy. I want to see our loss to lease, vacancy. How we doing? We got somebody moving in apartment number 17. People don't want to do that. People don't want to call, people don't want that phone call when the gas line breaks at midnight on Saturday, right? That's doing real estate. But you do want to be in real estate. That's what I started to realize. People aren't passionate about doing it. They're passionate about what it can do for you. So I said, all right, I've been working almost 15 years at this point to figure this out. I'm really passionate about it. I want to grow. I want a partner. And I've got all these people around me that want to check. So I'm starting to see some synergy here. And that's where, you and I kind of met in this phase. And I had probably just when you and I met, gone on a really long mountain bike ride. That's my flow state, right? And it came to me where I was like, the world is telling me that I need all that I've learned over these freaking 20 years. I need to come up with a way that I can get people in real estate, low impact, low risk, mailbox money. I can do what I'm good at, bringing people together, raising money, having fun, operating with absolute excellence. And we need to grow this thing. And I guess the only thing I missed there is, oh, by the way, Salt Lake City, have you noticed that lately? We moved to Park City, and partly because Salt Lake is such a strong, what I would call, in some ways, it's a mature market, but in a lot of ways, Salt Lake is just getting started with the major consistent net in migration. It is amazing here. It's a great family area, lots of outdoors. You don't have to drive very far, super safe. We're going to keep it that way. It's just a great place. And millennials like me, as they age, they're gonna keep coming to Utah. And I guess there's something in the water and start having babies like crazy. So that brings us to starting Silicon Slopes Capital Partners. And what I'm probably one of the things I'm most excited about, other than our third child coming here in a few months, but man, I am stoked to be where I'm at with you, bringing all this together, bringing it to the market, in a great market. Just really excited about that.
Yeah, it's and it's a great opportunity for a lot of people, because you and I have both invested in other people's apartment deals. And, if you want mailbox money, that I get that deposit, once a quarter, and all of a sudden my phone dings and I'm like, oh, Wow. All right. That's way easier than, the $250 a month cash flow from one property and worrying about, filling vacancies and repairing toilets and doing all of that. And it's kind of just, the cycle of life, right? Where once you have money, you want it to work for you. So, we're able to just, with everything we've got going on here, I've got going on here, you've got going on, like you're right. It's very synergistic and, just, I'll take 2 seconds and just say the coolest thing for me is, we are very similar, but we are very different. So we're able to meld the similarities so we get along super well, but then we're very different. So we're able to, have checks and balances and, make sure that, we're headed in the right direction and good stewards of not only our ships, but anyone else who, wants to be in this journey, in this ride with us together. And, we're sticking for the long haul. So it'll be good. So I'm super excited for all of this. We got to wrap it up though, because I want to be sensitive to your time. I know you're busy with everything you got going on. So maybe let's just wrap up with the last 2 questions.
Okay.
What is one thing you would want to tell someone who's working toward financial freedom?
Yeah. I mean, stick with it. Probably is the biggest thing. I mean, don't let yourself get diverted. I almost mentioned this, but early on, like first, 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse, I had a goal. I read a book, I forget, Buy Low, Rent Smart, something like that, maybe. But it was this guy that did it all by himself, and he just owned a bunch of single family houses over a long time. And so I came up with this goal that I'm going to buy a property a year for the rest of my life. That was like my first real estate goal. I didn't have a coach or anything. And within, the first year, I reevaluated my goal, and I'd already bought like 3 houses. And I was like, okay, I need to change my goal, I think, which is good. And so that's what I would encourage people is, stick with it, take action, and don't be afraid to reevaluate, like we talked about earlier, because things are gonna change. And step back, reevaluate, and make a new goal if you have to. You don't have to hold on to that one. I set this 5-year goal. Well, dude, if you hit it in 4 or 3, change it up on your way to it. That's okay. That's great. And if you miss it, I always say never miss twice. Give yourself some grace, but never miss twice. But if you miss it, man, reevaluate. Same thing. Step back, reevaluate, stay with it.
Yeah. Awesome. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently on your journey?
Faster. Go a lot faster. And that means bigger. And that, all the things that it took me, I'm grateful for my journey. There are times that I let my foot off the gas a little, like, the market's a little frothy. I think, 2013 things are selling high. And what you need to ask yourself is, what do I need to do in this market with these fundamentals to stay active? And this is something I talk about a lot. Buying and selling in every market. I like buying more than I like selling, to be honest with you. But you need to reevaluate. I had some buddies who were kind of ahead of me once I started getting into commercial real estate, and they did the same thing. They let their foot off the gas. Well, our underwriting, it doesn't look the same anymore, and blah blah blah. It's like, dude, you need to change your model. People are buying stuff around you. You need to change your model. Something might be broken. If you've been modeling interest rates at 5% and all of a sudden they go to 3, you need to update your model, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Or reverse of that, they've been at 3 and they're going to 5 or 6, like right now. You gotta update that, but you don't stop. You say, okay, things changed. I'm going to change my model. How can I make sense of this? How can I keep going?
Yeah. So good.
One thing too, I feel like I just would be remiss because you skimmed on it, and I didn't really talk about it, but it was my LP chapter, limited partnership chapter. So I put 7 figures to work in limited partnerships before I ever raised my first dollar in a general partnership. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but it was important to me to learn and to see what some of the real legitimate long-term syndicators and players, how did they do it? I read every word of their operating agreements, subscription agreements, you name it. And I would encourage people, what I find is my network, again, they don't want to do real estate. They want to be in it. And they think, well, I got to go buy this XYZ, house or Airbnb or whatever, apartment. Well, man, you can get very similar returns with a very good proven operator, reducing your risk as an LP and do absolutely nothing for it. Now, if you want to be a real estate professional and you want to go for it, man, I'll be the wind at your back. I love that. I encourage you to do that. But a lot of people, like I said, they just want to be in real estate. And I still have LP dollars out there today. You and I talk, we're still in the deal flow there where we look at other people's deals all the time. And man, that's not a bad dollar to earn.
Yeah. It's so true. And that's what we're all after, right? Because that gives us the time freedom, that gives us the financial freedom to go and do what we really want to do, right? And we get into real estate because of that idea, but then you find out that you're just building a business, right? It just happens to be a pretty leveraged business, I'll add, like, buying 19 houses, but it's still work. You're building a business because then you got to put property managers in place, then you got to put a system in place on following up, but it allows you to have that like 4-hour work week ish type freedom. But there's still responsibility versus like the LP check I wrote and all the ones you wrote. There is zero responsibility there, zero liability other than the dollars you put in. It's great.
Yeah. Well, a great term that we love, all of us real estate people love, is passive income, right? But anybody who actually does real estate understands that ain't passive. It's more passive than going to work for somebody and, getting a W-2 and all that good stuff. But limited partnership deals are truly passive. It really is the epitome of mailbox money. Now, there's value in doing the more active things. Absolutely, no doubt about it. That's that's why we're doing it. We love what we're doing, building a team, creating opportunities for investors, for people around us, bringing, updating and great assets around the Salt Lake market. We're passionate about all that stuff, but not everybody is. But it's easy to get passionate about passive income.
Very true. Very true. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your story. I certainly learned a bunch. I think everyone who listens to this episode will also learn a bunch and how they can implement on their journey. So thank you. And I will see you on the next rapid fire episode.
Look forward to it, brother. Thanks for having me.
Okay. If people want to find out more about you, where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, the best way is checking out our website, Silicon Slopes Capital Partners. There's a form on there, and if you put podcast on how you heard about us, you'll get in. That's how I can kind of curate who comes through there, and I know where you came from, so I will see that in particular. If you have a question, happy to answer it for you. And just, Jordy, I keep saying I love what you're doing with the podcast and the audience. I love talking about this stuff. I wish some of this was around. I I do listen to the real estate guys and all these other, I mean, the real estate guys are kind of the OGs, you know, for some of this stuff, and they still got great content even today, but so much great material out there, man. There's no excuses. So appreciate what you're doing out there.
Yeah, it's needed because, you know, the real estate guys, there's bigger pockets, there's a ton that do it, but you know, everyone, I just have a little different flavor than everyone else. So it's good. Hopefully we can, even if we change just one life, yeah, it's worth it. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, buddy. Well, we will see you soon.
Check you later, brother.
Okay. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Financially Free Investor. If you found value in this episode or know someone who would find value in this information, please share with them, subscribe, and send us a review. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Financially Free Investor. If you found value in this episode or know someone who would find value in this information, please share with them, subscribe, and send us a review.